Hello students, this is our lesson for today, which is realism. Started in 1850 until 1900s. Okay, so this is our module 4 for quarter 2 in our subject Creative Industries 1. Okay, so visual arts and mediums. Okay, so realism art, we're going to talk about with realism art, the artist in the realism, and also we're going to discuss symbolism and relation of the African art. Okay, so let's start with the background, okay, of realism. So realism was a reaction to a highly subjective approach of romanticism, so which they felt was out of touch with everyday reality. So it has a depiction and relation with romanticism. We all know that romanticism is something like informal kind of art, wherein it expresses its emotions and feelings with the art. Okay, so here in realism, okay, the obvious part of this, or the subject matter or the reference is based on everyday reality. So the realists strive towards truth and accuracy. So yun yung pinaka main objective nila, yung may pakita yung reality at accurateness ng pangyayari in our real life situation. Okay, so this tendency to depict everyday reality also found expression in theater, literature, and opera of a time. Okay? The emphasis was on the depiction of everyday subjects and social criticism of the plight of the poor. So it also emphasized the depiction on social criticism and also the life of poor people, okay, kung saan pinapakita niya yung totoong pamumuhay ng mga tao, okay, na yung mga mahihirap. Okay, so kasi hindi lahat ng tao mayayaman. We can admit that, okay, na kailangan makita din itong side na to ng pamumuhay. So that's why those realist artists is gumawa ng ganitong klaseng artwork or isang style ng artwork is to express those kinds of feelings and accurateness of events or real life situation. Okay, let's go now with the characteristics of realism. Okay, so realism was in a pursuit of truth in art and a total rejection of idealization. So it rejects idealism, or kaya yung mga happenings na hindi nangyayari sa totoong buhay. Okay, so yung mga ideas or kaya yung mga nasa imagination natin is hindi ina-accept nitong realism art. So it should not be confused with naturalism, okay, whereby art should closely resemble the natural world. So kung ano yung nakikita mo sa natural world, kailangan yun yung depiction or pinapakita ng realism. Okay, realists believe that art should be true to appearances without any idealization or stylization. Okay, so this meant that the realists often portrayed the ugly and the dark side and then the suffering of humans. So nakafocus siya sa sorrow, sa sadness, and then dun sa other side ng pamumuhay ng tao, wherein nangyayari talaga sa totoong buhay na hindi lahat tayo fortunate sa buhay. Hindi lahat ng tao okay yung estado ng buhay nila. So ito yung depiction ng realism art. So let's go with the subject matter. Okay, The realists wanted to depict the life conditions and hardships of the contemporary citizens. So, pinapakita dito yung pamumuhay ng mga tao. Okay? More notably, the poor of society, the working class and peasants, okay? Yung mga grado ng hanap buhay, yung may mga white collar job, blue collar job, okay? So, yan, social classes, working classes, and then also the peasants, mga alipin who suffered in poverty. It was a description of simple life and a critical view of the social structures. Many paintings which sprung up during the time of realism depicted people at work, okay, usually doing unglamorous job. So, kagaya dito, may relate ko yung artwork ng ating isang national artist na si Vicente Manansala, which is The Builders. Hindi siya kaakit-akit tingnan, pero it depicts the life of the people, the suffering, and then the poverty, the working class of the people, na pinapakita niya dito yung pamumuhay ng tao. Okay? So, in that time, nung nag-exhibit siya, hindi siya ganun na-realize because it is new from the eye of Filipino people. Pero in other countries, nagsimula na ito, and then they starting up to appreciate it. So, iba yung malaki yung pagkakaiba nitong realism dun sa ibang style ng pag-paint. Okay? Kasi solely nakafocus siya sa ganito buhay ng tao in a darker side. So, something like what happens in our life. Okay? So, its composition often like a scene from an ongoing scene. So, parang scenario siya or scene na ano siya, parang simultaneous or kaya yung talagang nangyari. For example, kung nagtatrabaho yan, kailangan meron siyang movement. Okay? Kayo po nagbubuhat, nagtatanim, nagdidig. So, yun yung mga ito yung composition nito. While shapes are clearly defined. Okay? So, makikita mo talaga yung shape kapag tao yan. So, shape talaga ng tao. So, kapag bagay, okay? So, well-defined. So, makikita natin dito yung dullness ng mga brush strokes na ginagamit. Application, brush strokes are often visible. Okay? So, makikita, hindi natin gaano makikita yung brush strokes kasi dull nga. Okay? Yung pagkaka-apply ng brush stroke natin. Then color, preference for sober earth colors that suited their theme. So, hindi yung mga bright colors ang makikita natin. Makikita natin dito yung mga earthen colors, yung mga something like brown, dark brown, gray, yung mga ganun na kulay, yung mga nagagamit usually in this kind of artwork. Okay, so let's proceed. Realism is the portrayal of the ugly. So, dark side of life, the suffering of people. Okay, the general theme is of the working class and laborer. So, yun yung mga pinapakita niyo dito. Okay, suffering, the dark side of life. Okay. So, meron tayong artist during the time of realism art, which is COURBET. So, who was COURBET? No? So, sabi niya dito, meron siyang quote dito na sinabi, "Show me an angel." Okay? Pakita mo daw yung angel and I will paint one. Okay? So, kailangan makita mo daw yung isang bagay bago mo ito paniwalaan or gawin. Kasi hindi naman sa totoong buhay, hindi ka naman talaga makakita ng angel. Okay, so that is according to COURBET. So Jean Desire or Desiree Gustave COURBET. Okay, so born on June 10, 1819 and died in December 31, 1877. So, was a French painter who led the Realist movement in 19th century French painting. Okay, so he is the leader of the French movement during 19th century. So, Courbet occupies an important place in 19th century French painting as an innovator. So, kapag sinabi natin ng innovator, something like gumagawa ng mga panibagong paraan para perform yung isang movement na ginagawa nila. Then, as an artist who will display old social commentary in his work. So, willing siyang magbigay ng kanyang commentary. Very vocal siya sa mga gawa niya. Okay? So, next. The paintings of Courbet often provoke a storm of protest at the salon. So, gaya ng nabanggit ko before, yung previous lesson natin, salon is a very prestigious exhibition in France, okay? The European countries na talagang kapag hindi maganda yung painting mo is hindi ka mabibigyan ng chance na may sabit yung artwork mo doon. So, doon talagang criticize or critic itong realism art kasi nga bago sa mata. So, scenes of rural life were expected to be small and picturesque. Okay? So, ibig sabihin hindi siya gaano papansinin or rejected siya. So, his peasant pictures were largely in scale and focus on the hardships of working conditions. Okay? So, in this work, two men are engaged in stone breaking as a means to survive. Courbet stated that this painting was inspired by an old man and a young boy working on the roads. He felt their poverty. He placed the two fingers in the forehead, and the viewer feels their back-breaking hard work. His palette is sober with the dominance of brown. So, ito yung painting na ginawa ni Courbet is dominant yung browns, and then kapag sinabi natin sober, something like makapal or kaya madilim, diba? So, lights and darks converge absurdly along the edges of simplified planes, and he creates surface richness from the way he uses his pigments. Okay? So many of his contemporaries thought his work to be crude. So something like yung mga gawa niya, okay, is something like unusual. Yan. He does not try to seduce the viewer with any tricks or idealization. So, hindi siya kaakit-akit tingnan. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, hindi siya agaw pansin. Okay? So, but captures a real event in simple. So, yun yung pinaka-objective niya dito. Kailangan makita yung real event dito sa painting ko. Okay? So, simple, direct painting. So, he often use a palette knife and place large daubs of paints which give his surface a rough surface. So, usually yung kanyang surface ng mga artworks niya is in a rough surface. So, mas komportable siya doon. Mas yun yung mode of preference niya sa paggawa ng artworks. Okay? So, ito yung painting niya na Stone Breaker. So, yan, isang matandang lalaki at isang batang lalaki na nagtatrabaho. Okay, so out of poverty to earn money, diba? So, Stone Breaker, something like na, diba? So, yan yung gawa niya, 1849, Stone Breakers in oil on canvas. So, the work of Courbet. Okay. So, next we have Jean Francois MILLET. Okay, so October 4, 1814, and died January 28, 1875. He was a French painter and one of the founders of Barbizon School in rural France. Okay, so Millet is noted for the scenes of peasant farmers. So ganun din yung objective nito or perspective nito si Millet. Okay, same with COURBET, no? So papakita niya yung working class ng mga tao, scenario, okay, doon sa painting niya. So Millet was associated with a group of landscape and figure painters known as the Barbizon School, who work in the forest of Fontainebleau, okay, near the town of Barbizon. So in this work, Millet depicted three peasant women performing the back-breaking task of cleaning the last wheat scraps. Okay, so one of the women is walking with her body bent forward from the hips and her face intent on the ground, searching for an clean. Okay, so ganun pa rin pinoportray niya dito kung gaano mahirap yung trabaho ng isang something like farmer or kaya yan, nagtatanim sila. Okay, so ito yung artwork ni Millet. Okay, so makikita natin, makikil natin yung message talaga nitong artwork. Okay, so talagang kapag magtanim, di ba? Magtanim ay di biro, sabi nila. So talagang mahirap. Okay, so yung suffering and then the emotions of the painting can feel by the viewer, okay, right away. So this is Gleaners 1857 oil on canvas. Okay, next is DAUMIER. Okay, so Honoré DAUMIER, born on February 26, 1808 and died on February 10, 1879, was a French painter, caricaturist, and printmaker whose many works offer commentary on the social and political life in France in 19th century. So hindi lang siya painter. Okay, so this is the difference between yung mga nauna, si COURBET and Millet. Okay, DAUMIER rather, mas versatile siya kasi caricaturist. Okay, yung gumagawa ng caricature na, for example, image ng isang tao, diba? So parang sculpture na rin. Then printmaking, nag-print, gumagawa siya ng mga prints. And then he is also a realist painter artist. Okay, so ito yung gawa niya, the third class carriage. Okay, so nakikita natin dito pag sinabing third class, ibig sabihin parang pinakalikod na, di ba? Pinakalikod, and then hindi na ganun kaganda yung upuan, di ba? So something like sa trend ito. So this is Honoré DAUMIER at the third class carriage 1862. Okay, so that is DAUMIER. Okay, so tatlong artist yung na-feature natin sa Realism. Okay, so punta naman tayo dito sa Symbolism. So 1885 up until 1910. So Symbolism, let's define what is Symbolism. Emerge as a reaction to Realism and Impressionism. So reaction siya ngayon ng Realism and Impressionism. So talagang ano siya, no, pattern siya. So kanina yung Romanticism, something like depiction din ng Realism. So ito reaction ito ng Realism tsaka Impressionism, because the symbolists felt they ignore the imagination and emotions. Okay, so ito yung nararamdaman ng mga symbolist artists. Okay, nai-ignore daw yung imagination ng isang tao, din emotion naman. So contradiction doon sa realism art. So they wanted to paint pictures that evoke certain moods and feelings. Okay, so symbolism was also a strong trend in literature. Okay, so pwede siyang gamitin sa also sa literature, sa visual. Symbolist painters use methodological and dream imagery, visual language of the soul. So pag sinabi natin na mythological alamat, di ba? Then dream imagery, okay? Like sa nakikita natin sa panaginip. Okay? So yun yung mga ano nito, characteristic sa matter. So they painted scenes from nature, human activities, and other real world phenomena in a high metaphorical and suggestive manner. Okay, so something like exaggerated or kaya mas na-emphasize in a strange way or kaya not in a natural way. Okay? So ganun yung expression nila dito. So they provide particular images and objects with esoteric attractions. So pag sinabi natin na esoteric attractions, konti lang yung nakakagets or small amount of people can only understand the meaning of that particular thing. Okay, so yun yung ibig sabihin ng symbolism. So examples of symbolism, okay, so used by Gustav Mori, the apparition, okay, and then the Hobbies did Cahabanes, young girls on the edge of the sea, and then Arnold with the island on the dead. Okay, so those are the examples of symbolism. Okay, kung mapapansin natin, something like meron talagang kaiba or hindi siya usually nakikita sa real world situation. Okay, so that's the difference between realism and symbolism. Okay, so let's now go with South African art. Okay, so here may mga artists din tayong mamimit or mag-meet. Okay, and then their styles of painting or paggawa ng artwork na. Okay, so the South African artist chosen in the relation of Neoclassicism, okay, so Romanticism and Realism. So tatlo yung ano niya, meron siyang relate or kaya meron siyang depiction. Okay, the Neoclassicism, which has elegance and formality. Yung Romanticism naman more on emotions and feelings and something like may papakita mo in expressive way, while realism nakikita natin sa real life situation. So ito yung ano niya, buhusap niya. So realism do not always reflect all the characteristics of the movement. So meron siyang relation pero hindi lahat doon. So there are aspects that relate in terms of subject matter and some instances characteristics of style. So may mga pagkakataon na may nakakuha sila dun sa mga styles na yun. May mga cases din na merong iba or magkaiba dun sa loob. Okay? So kagaya nitong artwork nitong si DURANT, Sihlali. Okay? So kilalanin muna natin si DURANT Sihlali. Sihlali started drawing during his childhood. So nag-start siya nung bata pa siya. He attended classes at Paul Street, received guidance from a variety of established artists, and went on to study tours to Europe. So since nabigyan siya ng opportunity to study Europe, alam naman natin sa Europe advanced yung art nila doon. Okay? So talagang matututo ka ng different kinds of art, and then mataas ang standards ng art before. The experience to township life was his main source of subject matter. So kung ang very evident sa kanyang subject matter yung pamumuhay sa isang town o sa isang lugar. Okay, so in a watercolor painting, Race Against Time, Sihlali shows the viewer an event that he and the residents of that area experienced of the specific day of Soweto in 1973. So parang nilalagay niya yung sarili niya as the viewer of that kind of scene. So this watercolor documents the degrading effects of the decisions of apartheid government. Kung sinabi natin na apartheid government, something like may apartness or separations of blacks doon sa South Africa, and then the whites, okay, South and North Africa. Okay, so the socio-political circumstances that resulted from forced removals are the important aspects of the scenes recorded by Sihlali during his lifetime. Okay, so yung mga socio-political happenings or the imbalance treatment ng mga tao before is nire-record niya ito or pinapakita niya ito dun sa mga gawa niyang artwork. Okay? As a race against time, Sihlali's other watercolor painting shows that he developed personal style. So naka-develop siya ng isang artwork na magre-reflect sa kanya as an artist, expressing calligraphic brush marks, okay? Something like calligraphy watermarks, yung mga nalugaran niya. Soft colors mainly associated with the romanticist view of life, okay? And then the emphasis of beauty of the flowing watercolors and blurred shapes are aspects characteristic of romanticism. So as we read, okay, from text the slide, okay, so may papakita dito yung mga different message styles. Okay, so Sihlali's direct approach of the subject matter that surrounded him presents us viewers with the truth and daily reality normally associated with realism. So may i-relate natin siya also with realism, romanticism, and also neoclassicism. So yun yung mga characteristics of South African art. Okay, so something like pinagsama-sama siya. Okay, so here is an example of work of Durant, Sihlali, Race Against Time, 1973. Something like sinisira yung mga bahay ng mga tao. Okay, so makikita nyo natin yung realness ng pangyayari, pero yung composition niya para siyang romanticism, di ba? Kasi yung disorganization of the elements, okay, makikita natin. Okay, at ito pa yung other artworks of Sihlali. So yan, Down in Soweto, then Burning Old Clothes, and then Fog in Soweto, Old Bimville. So makikita natin yung pagka-distinct and then the sameness ng mga artworks ni Sihlali. Okay, so something like siya na calligraphic way, hindi bold yung colors, okay, so loose yung colors niya, pero it has a certain beauty and a message of the world. Okay, so sunod natin si DUMILE FENI. Okay, so another artist from South African art, born in Chester in Western Cape. This artist's talent was recognized during his early 20s when he was recovering from the Johannesburg hospital after contracting tuberculosis. So bata pa lang siya when he's 20s, 20 years old. Kilala na siya na artist, pero since meron siyang sakit na tuberculosis, okay, so medyo naapektuhan yung kanyang art making. So he was encouraged and helped by artists such as Sihlali, and Bill Anisty. Okay, so dubbed the Goya of the township. Okay, so his work shows his sensitivity and emotional response to the circumstances of the community in which he live. Okay, so may papakita dito yung kanyang sensitivity and emotional response. Ibig sabihin yung kanyang pag-respond sa isang bagay, for example, galit siya or meron siyang problema. So, nagre-reflect ito sa mga gawa ng artwork. So, in many of his works, the havoc caused by the system of political oppression is the dominating theme. Okay? So, his subconscious and emotional reaction is reflected in his depiction of human conditions under these circumstances. Okay? So, ito yung mga gawa niya, okay, na artwork niya. So, as we can see, may pagka-exaggerated yung mga works niya. Okay? Something like, hindi siya magandang tignan, pero it is uniquely done and expresses something. Okay? Kagaya nitong African Guernica, okay? And then fear, and then figures with child, and then the ogre. Okay? So, very evident yung gawa din nitong DUMILE FENI. Okay? Okay? So let's now go with Paul EMSLEY. So when one looks at Paul EMSLEY's cryptic three-piece artwork, one can immediately recognize the drama and emotion of Sihlali. So yun na agad yung mapipil natin kasi something like dramatic itong pagkakagawa niya. So, three-piece, ibig sabihin something like pinapati style yung kanyang artwork. So, Paul EMSLEY displays a moody, dramatic sky. So, meron ng expression doon. Very reminiscent of romanticist art. Before the subject matter is even investigated, the viewer is aware of the dark, disturbing atmosphere. So, kung habang hinahanap mo daw yung talagang subject matter is talagang mauhook ka or kaya ma-pay attention ka doon sa disturbing atmosphere. So he has used Conti chalk in his triptych, and this medium successfully creates an evocative interplay of dark areas and light focus points. So may papakita siyang source of light and then source of darkness, sa areas of darkness. The technique is also endorses the feeling of something that is transitory, which EMSLEY employed to interpret his subject matter. So something like has a transition. So ito yung artwork niya. Okay, so mapapansin natin from the first piece to move at the second and then the third. So continuous siya. Okay, so something like isa siya pero is just divided into the life and then the time and then the departure. Okay, so parang ang ibig sabihin nito past, present, and future. So this is the work of Paul EMSLEY. So meron din siyang sariling interpretation, sariling style na artwork. Okay, so this valuing. Okay, so lastly, to sum it up, okay, so according to Igor Babailov, okay, so art education is as important for the realist artist as an alphabet is to learn a language. Okay, so importante daw yung art education sa isang realist artist because kung wala kang background or education about art, ibig sabihin parang ligaw ka or kaya wala kang basics or wala kang fundamentals sa salita, sa pagsusulat ng pangalan mo. So ganun din yung reflection dito sa mga realist artists. So kailangan meron kang art education to study the different styles, the concepts of painting, how to create artworks. Okay? So that is according to Igor Babailov. Okay, so let's go now with the last part of the video presentation, which is the activities. So number 1, okay, so from the short description below, observe carefully and analyze the artwork. Answer the following questions below. So ito yung artwork ni COURBET. a burial at Ornans, 1849, oil in canvas. So this work caused scandal at the French Salon. Okay, so ibig sabihin ito yung na-judge or kaya na-misunderstood sa salon doon sa exhibition na meron sila sa France, because it portrays in life-size burial of ordinary people in COURBET's village. So parang walang special, you know? So something like may mga tao na attend sa isang libing, ano. So kasi realism nga, yun yung gusto nga express nitong si COURBET, which is hindi pa gaanong nag-realize or naiintindihan ng mga tao dati kasi nga they are at the understanding the academic art. Yun talaga yung pinaka main focus nila, neoclassicism. So yung mga ganon. Okay, so naging scandal siya. Okay, so scandal in a way na nakikritik, okay, and then nabibigyan ng bad feedbacks. Okay, so here sagutan ninyo yung mga katanungan dito. So what were the aims of realism in art? Ano nga ba yung objective niya? And number 2, did COURBET succeed in achieving these aims in this work? Na-achieve niya ba? Okay, yung gusto niya mangyari. Give reasons for your answer by referring to stylistic characteristic of his work. So, magbigay kayo ng mga reasons kung bakit na-achieve niya ito or kung bakit hindi. No? So, second activity, okay, you're going to answer also the questions. What are the art styles did you learn in this lesson? So, may mga art styles tayo nabanggit. Something like reflection ninyo. So, what are the subjects of realism? What are the subjects of symbolism? Or yung characteristic or nakikita natin usually sa realism art and sa symbolism art. And then 3, number 3 activity, okay, assessment. I think this is the last. Okay, enumerate at least 5 artists in this module, so very easy. Then for number 6 and 10, short essay. How will you differentiate realism art to a South African art? Okay, so ano nga ba yung pagkakaiba ng South African art sa realism art? So that's it. That's the content of our video lesson. So hopefully you understand the lesson and then the activities into it. So kindly answer all the activities and then submit it in our Google Classroom and then time. So that's it. Thank you. And then